everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after Game 11 of the season for the Winnipeg Jets, in which they could have fallen, thank you very much, in which they could have fallen below 500. Instead, they jumped one game up on 500, jump back from the 8th seed in the West into the 3rd seed in the Central. Probably too early to be talking about these kind of things, but the way things are bunched up right now, the St. Louis Blues kind of big victory last night over the New Jersey Devils. The Arizona Coyotes 1 point back of the Winnipeg Jets. They would have been 3 point up on them if fortunes were reversed in this game, which it looked like they were going to be for quite a little bit of time. And the Nashville Predators, a team that just I never have the most faith in them for years when they did make the playoffs, and they'd made the playoffs, I think, 5 or 6 straight years before last season. I called them to be a first round out, and that typically is what happened in those situations. Last year, I didn't think they'd make the playoffs. I don't think they'll make the playoffs this season either, but they definitely like to hang around. If you get the Rounders reference, great movie with Matt Damon and Edward Norton there. So, I mean, a win tonight, a divisional win against a divisional foe that looks like, and I said it last show, I'm not sure that I see a lot out of the Arizona Coyotes either, but they have been playing some pretty good hockey right now. Like I said, even after tonight's game, just 1 point behind the Winnipeg Jets. So you can't rest on a team like that. So getting a win against that team, not only getting a win, but doing so in the manner where they get no points out of it, especially when that team was up. I mean, 2-0 lead, 3-2 lead, and then the Jets kind of take over, scoring the last 4 goals of the game. A lot of things to like about that game, a lot of things to kind of question about. Ken and I have been talking quite a bit throughout the game. I think there were some really great examples of what I was talking about last game, about the Jets' balance of aggression versus passivity, right? To me, it's a spectrum where you land on that spectrum. The Jets, I think, are a team that is very, very aggressive on that spectrum, and I think that aggression can be used against them. I thought there were 2 perfect examples of that in the first period that would kind of help me at least highlight why I think the Winnipeg Jets have shown to be this really, really great 5-on-5 hockey club and possession metrics and all these things. And yet somehow they find themselves hovering around 500, despite the fact that most games that they play, it looks like they're the better team. How do they keep losing? Well, I think that there's a couple really great examples I can point out in that first period that kind of hammer home what I think the Jets are doing. And a lot of that has to do with the idea that playing that aggressive system that the Jets are trying to play, you have to be on it. So if you have an off period, like the Winnipeg Jets, I thought, had in that first period, it's going to cost you, right? Being aggressive, you have to be on your toes to play that way. If you're not on your toes, if you have a slow start to a period, the way the Winnipeg Jets did, clearly 3 shots in that first period and 2 goals against in that first period, that can be problematic. You got to hand it to the Jets. Something about that first intermission, and maybe you would like to complain about it and say the Jets should be getting better starts than they are. But the one thing that I think it would be pretty hard for Jets fans to rail against, or analysts such as Ken and myself, is accusing the Winnipeg Jets of not being ready to start the second period tonight. Another example of them just turning it on. But in the case tonight, keeping their foot on the gas pedal right through the second period, right through the third, towards the end of the game. And some brilliant performances, individual performances by some of the, more underrated players on the Winnipeg Jets, should we say. We'll get into Brenden Dillon's 2-goal game, Nino Niederreiter's 3-goal game. Brenden Dillon, I think we've had conversations, had a little bit of a rough start to the season so far, so that's a great bounce back game for him. Nino Niederreiter, I think, has been on it all year. The puck was not bouncing his way. It reminded me, I've said on this show, of Kyle Connor last year, where empty nets, posts, all those kind of things, the puck just wasn't going from. Well, the puck is going in for him now. All I could think is that poor person who I forget what the name of the contest is. It's on the TSN broadcast, but had the opportunity, you win, remember Patrick Laine scores 5 goals, someone wins $1 million. I believe if Nino Niederreiter would have scored that empty net goal that he puts into the shin pads of the defender, that would have been $100,000 for that person. So I was imagining what it would be like at home, seeing that happen, my eyes getting that big and being ready to celebrate $100,000 win, and then putting it off the shins like that. Oh boy, that's a tough one to swallow. But lots to talk about in this show, lots to break down. And I'm going to tease it here right now. One of the most crackpotiest theories that I can remember hearing come out of Ken Weeb's mouth. He's going to deliver it to you. And yes, I know crackpotiest is not the word, or is not a real word, but I think it's apt because the potty, in my opinion, is exactly where this idea of Ken's belongs. We're going to bring him in to explain himself, because he got a lot of splaining to do, people. Here he is, the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny. All right, Ken, already people like Fritchie101 saying, I'm intrigued. Now, I'm going to give you the choice. We can let this breathe for a little bit. We can let the audience say, what is Renny talking about in this situation? What could possibly be the take that Ken Wiebe has that Renny is not only holding his nose towards, but is downright offended by? I'm offended by this.
You
Ken.
should
So
be. Good.
we can either get into this right now, or we can let it sit for a little bit. You can do the normal routine. You can give us your thoughts on the game. We'll get around to it. I leave the floor to you, my friend. Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, why don't you go put your poppy on, and I'll just start at the buffet like normal, and then we'll get into it that way. Slow start for the Jets today, no doubt about that. Sleepy first. Yeah, I mean, they're a great example of aggression. I mean, I also have a theory about what happened on the first goal against that we'll get into in a minute. But Jets showed some resilience again today. That was something that was evident after falling behind and sort of, as I mentioned, sort of sleepwalking. I mean, I don't remember one scoring chance from the first period by the Jets, but found their legs in the second and, got themselves going for the most part. Obviously, the special teams getting a power play goal from Nino Niederreiter, one of his 3 in his 3rd career hat trick, was important. And we'll get to Niederreiter in a minute. So, but yeah, I mean, it's an important win for the Jets because of all the things that you said. I mean, Sean, the Arizona Coyotes they're not a great team. They're a team that's fun. They can be fun to watch. They get involved. They definitely have some offensive diligence in their game. We've been talking a lot about the Jets' breakdowns in structure, and man, were there ever a few breakdowns in structure with the Coyotes team as well. Andre Tourigny has a fun group to work with. I would also say that that's the kind of group that's going to have a coaching staff maybe pulling their hair out a bit at times this year. But enough about the Coyotes. The Jets, mostly tidy effort for 40 minutes. Need to get their top line going, and it was a tough game for them. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. On for 2 goals against, one egregious turnover by Mark Scheifele, and I would say that they didn't play that play very well on the first goal against. I mean, I don't blame Scheifele. I mean, I'll get into it right now. Some folks saying this is one of the problems, Sean, with the art of the closest player to the puck being at fault circumstance. So Mark Scheifele does his job. He is the F3, and in that situation, he wasn't even actually the F3. He fills in. Josh Morrissey goes down the boards in the offensive zone, pinches correctly. Mark Scheifele is covering for him perfectly. The only, if you want to call a fault, and I don't even call it a fault, neither do you, Mark Scheifele was flat-footed. The fact that he had to chase J.J. Moser up the ice from a chase position, some people said, oh, well, that's Mark's fault. Well, no. Kyle Connor started the play even with J.J. Moser. He was the F3. His responsibility is to beat the defenseman to the front of the net, and he was not able to do so. That line was out for, I'd have to double check, but I assume it was late in the game, or late in the shift for them. They were not able to catch their player. Then the goal goes in, and it definitely, as you mentioned, I mean, that there is an element of aggression to that as well. But when a player is in position and it didn't seem to me as though, like, it's not like Josh made a crazy pinch. It wasn't, because the player covered for him, and it wasn't that the F3 wasn't there. He was there, but at the end of his shift, they couldn't catch the skater going full speed, and that sort of was that. But that Nino Niederreiter game was outstanding. Combined distance of goal traveled, 5.5, let's say, on all three combined. One of them was on the inches, two of them on blue paint specials, and that's where the Jets need to be better, and that's where they were better today. And Niederreiter has been playing awesome, and all of a sudden you look up and Niederreiter has 5 goals scored, and he's only one behind Kyle Connor for the team lead. And it wasn't that long ago, Sean, I was at Nino Niederreiter's locker last Saturday morning in Montreal. You were also around the room that day, and we were talking about Nino Niederreiter, being able to exhale after going, a bunch of games without a goal to start the year, despite having great chances in game one. And it's funny, Nikolai Ehlers told me after the game in Detroit, he talked about his own situation. One year he went almost 10 games without a goal, gets one against San Jose, then goes on a heater. So Nino Niederreiter right now is doing that. So we'll tie up the bow on the buffet. Let's do a couple reads, and then we can dig into our disagreement. We'll bring in the Kenny and Renny divorce lawyer for the next segment.
It is going to be needed. This isn't even a speed dial thing. They need to be in the room for this one, because you and I are going to be at each other's throats.
No, I'm not going to be at your throat. I'm not going to be at your throat.
I will most definitely be at yours, Kenneth Weeb, after what I was.
It's no problem. I know it's no problem. I'm ready for you. My stick is up. I'm ready. I'm ready to defend myself on your attack. You had a very it's very, very personal here. You had a good point. I wanted to get into it because I think what you were just talking about is a good bridge into what I wanted to explain to the audience, was that balance that I keep talking about, that spectrum, that continuum of aggressive hockey to passive hockey, and where I think it fell into play on the Jets' first goal allowed of the game. But I also want to say, let's just get this out of the way, because you touched on it already. Mark Scheifele throwing that up the middle. That is clearly the pristine roofing wake-up call of the game. I don't think that, I don't take a look at this and think Mark Scheifele turned around and was like trying to make that play. It flubs off his stick. It's one of those unfortunate things. You play hockey long enough, it's like that whole thing. You either die early or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. In hockey, it's like you either get bumped out of the league at some point, or you stay there long enough to make mistakes that people like to jump all over you for. I don't overly fault this, but clearly throwing that puck up the middle is a wake-up moment. So I think that is a well-deserved pristine roofing wake-up of the game. And I know some of you are thinking, well, our last game that we saw was the middle of the night, so it makes sense to wake up North End Rick at that time. It's a little early in the day. I'll tell you this right now. North End Rick, he likes to get his naps in every once in a while. I'll pull up, I'll see a pristine roofing truck at the stoplight, and I'll look over, and there'll be North End Rick. He'll fall asleep in 25 seconds if that light goes too long. So give him a call right now, folks. North End Rick from Pristine Roofing, 1-204-981-6289. You may be surprised. You may be waking him up. If you don't, or if you do, either way, you're going to get a guy who comes down there is going to give you great service. Representing the folks at Pristine Roofing, you want to call them as well, 1-204-237-7663. I'm driving down the roads, and I'm seeing all kind of ice dam buildups already with this strange weather that we've had so far this year with the snowing and melting. They're the guys you want to call for help with that. So give them a call, give them a wake up. And while we're at it, give Mark Scheifele a wake up. Also wanted to say, Ken, thank you for covering me again. That's always the trickiest part. I've got like too many different jackets. I guess I just got to get I got to get a poppy for each one of them and just
fix a poppy on like 7 of these different Oh, North End Rick is away, kind
Rick
of,
is
he
here.
says. Anyway, I'll tell you this, though. When you get those Vittorio Rossi suits and you throw not only the nice tie on and the tie clip and all the things they do to make you look like $1,000,000, you throw a poppy on there. It's one of those things that just takes it over the top as well. We're not pulling it off here tonight, Ken, but soon enough, when this road trip is over, we'll be back in the building and we'll be pulling it off again. If you want to pull it off, don't wait for this road trip to end. Head on down to Corden Avenue. Go see Frankie and the boys at Vittorio Rossi and make sure you tell them Kenny and Renny sent you so they can do you up nice. Okay, I just wanted to touch on that, what you were talking about, the Jets' first goal. There is an end zone shot. If any of you have recorded the game and are interested in going and looking at this, there's a great end zone shot. So good job by the producer and the director of the TSN broadcast. There's an end zone shot, a camera in behind Connor Hellebuck that looks down the ice. And what's happening on that play is the Winnipeg Jets, to this idea I have of aggressive hockey, the Winnipeg Jets are trying to hold that puck in at the blue line, create a turnover, and create a scoring chance off that. And so what's happening is there's 3 players who have essentially set a trap for the Coyotes player. There's the player with the puck. There's a back pressure coming from one of the Jets players. And then the defenseman, I think it's Josh Morrissey. And like you'd said, Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele have basically kind of created a little bit of an umbrella and a trap. They're filtering that player in there. And now if the Jets can turn that puck over, they catch those 2 Arizona Coyotes players who flew the zone out, and all of a sudden you immediately have a 4-on-3. Not only do you have a 4-on-3, but if you hold it in at the blue line, you're trapping that team in the blue line. You've got all kinds of time. And not only that, you've got a 4-on-3, and you've got those 3 defenders of the Coyotes moving in the wrong direction. So you're either going to create, if you stop it, you're going to create a really good scoring chance, or B, you're going to create all kinds of room to allow you to set yourself up in the zone and get some continued zone time, which is one of the reasons when the Jets do this and pull it off, and they do often, it's why we've been watching them play and see them have such good 5-on-5 numbers, such good possession metrics. Overall, it's one of the reasons we see them looking like the better team in a lot of these games that they lose. Here's where things go wrong. And this is what I'm talking about the idea of maybe being overly aggressive, because if you are aggressive like that in that situation and it works out for you, you get the great opportunities that I just talked about happening. But if it doesn't, the puck gets behind you and it's a 2-on-1. And so to what you'd said earlier, if you look at the replay of the goal, it looks like Mark Scheifele is late getting back and getting his guy. Mark Scheifele is late getting back because Mark Scheifele is trying to hold the puck in the zone as the system calls for. He's on his toes and heading towards the Arizona Coyotes goaltender, trying to trap that puck in there. It's almost impossible for him, if he's playing the system, to get back and stop that puck. It's give him a pat on the back for getting as close as he did to getting back in that situation. That goal there is the Winnipeg Jets trying to be aggressive, in tune with their system, and that system being beat, and then a high danger chance coming out of that afterwards. So this is exactly the kind of plays I'm talking about. The Jets, while they possess the puck a lot, and one of the reasons they do is because they set trap plays like that, turn over the puck, get it back, hold on to it. It looks great, but when it doesn't work, it can equal high danger chances. So if you want to know what's been happening in these Jets games where they're out shooting the opposition, holding onto the puck, but they're finding a way to lose, that's what's happening. Because when it does break down, or when the other team, the opposition team, gets the puck through the trap, all of a sudden there's a great chance. If you go back and you look at the power play, the power play for the Arizona Coyotes that comes up almost immediately after that, the Jets are equally aggressive on the penalty kill. That's why you see Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton and players like that get so many chances at breakaways, because unlike most teams in the NHL that allow teams to possess the puck on the exterior, the Jets are one of those teams. They sit and they pass the puck around the exterior over and over again. One of the problems that we've seen from this power play, the Jets are different. The Jets contest the puck almost everywhere on the ice. And if you see in that first power play, the Jets are constantly battling for the puck on the boards, turning it over, sending it down the ice. That first penalty kill that the Jets have is almost perfect. They they turn the puck over a number of times. They float it down the ice. They kill a bunch of times. I say almost perfect because the one time that the puck does get through that aggressive system, it gets to the front of the net. It creates a grade A scoring chance. And to be lucky, to be frank, the player who got the puck, I can't remember who it was for the Coyotes, has an open net and misses the net. It should have been 2-0 in that situation there. And what you're looking at is what I've kind of been trying to explain over the last little while with the Jets penalty kill is it looks really, really good for the vast majority of it. And why it looks good is because they're aggressive and they're turning over pucks that other teams don't. And you think, wow, this Jets penalty kill is just absolutely all over these teams. But you have to give up the middle to do that. And if the puck gets in there, you get a player with all kinds of time. And so what you're seeing is a Jets power play that looks great almost all the time until it doesn't. And then the puck's in the back of the net because the way the system works is it's high risk. They're either turning over the puck and getting it down the ice or maybe even getting a breakaway out of the play. But if the puck does get through to the unprotected middle, it creates great scoring chances for the other team. And I think those are two plays that really kind of highlight what I was talking about when it comes to the aggressive versus passive balance, and the idea that the Jets, while they are being aggressive and getting a lot of opportunities on it, the few opportunities that they do give up are high danger opportunities. And that to me is the best explanation of why this is a Jets team that is often losing games where it's the best team on the ice. And I thought tonight, well, I guess I can't throw tonight in there because they were definitely not the better team in the first period. The game played out as it should have, as they turned it on. But I know a lot of people have been wondering about that. People stop me in the streets and we talk about this and they're scratching their heads. The Jets look good. Why aren't they a better team than they are right now other than middling around 500? I think those two plays perfectly encapsulate why the Jets system looks very good, but when it breaks down, it's a problem, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, problems are going to happen when teams are aggressive. This is definitely, you're 100% right on that. But what's the solution? The Jets have run a passive penalty kill, and they were one of the worst in the NHL. So I don't think that that's their solution. Other teams make plays once in a while too. I mean, it's not as simple as saying, the Jets need to execute better. I mean, their execution level is still quite high. So, I mean, on their power play goal against today, it was a breakdown not because of pressure. It was because the seam opened up. Rasmus Kupari was a little bit late taking away the cross-ice seam pass. And then when the shot gets through, Nate Schmidt makes a great play to prevent the guy closest to the puck from scoring. But the guy in the high slot, Lawson Crouse, is still there. So I don't know. I understand where you're coming from. My counter would just be that if I saw a ton of odd man rushes happening the other way because of the aggression, then yes, I think the Jets need to scale back. I just think they need to, there are times when their read has not been accurate. I mean, like I said, I don't think it was a bad read in this scenario. I just think that, Kyle Connor, quite frankly, got beat up the ice by the opposition's defenseman. So
hold on a second. I don't think it's a bad read either. What I'm saying is that first goal is not the fault of Mark Scheifele. It's not the fault of Kyle Connor. It's a bunch of guys playing the system, and it's a fault of the system. If the system fails, it creates great opportunities the other way. That's the point.
But Kyle's one of the fastest skaters on the team. I mean, if he's even with JJ Moser, he should be able to catch him. I mean, I'm not blaming Kyle Connor. I mean, I'm just saying I don't know that it was a systemic breakdown. Like Josh Morrissey made a read, the player covered for him.
It starts as a 2-on-1. So if it starts as a 2-on-1,
he was even, man. I stopped it. He's even with him before the puck gets to the player ahead of him.
Okay, but I guess I would argue the mindset of the system is the expectation that you're going to turn the puck over and attack. So Kyle Connor in that moment is not thinking get back defensively. He's thinking we're about to turn the puck over and attack because that's what the Jets are trying to do. That is what they're trying to create is the most likely outcome. So if you like to go on attack and then suddenly be on defense, there's going to be that little bit of a shift. So that Arizona player is expecting the puck to get through and he's on the attack. Kyle Connor is expecting it to be stopped and he's expecting to go attacking the other way. So who's got the advantage there? The player that is expecting to go attack in the direction of the puck or the one that needs to reverse the puck, and that never happens?
Sure, but Sean, you've played more defense than I have in terms of that. But so this is my other thought on how that play unfolded. And Dillon DeMello was quite frank when he said during the play when he was asked about it. The reason to me, Sean, you know this because you played defense. Dylan DeMello in a normal 2-on-1 will not be pressuring the puck carrier as much as he did in this situation unless he thinks that the trailer is going to catch JJ Moser, right? Otherwise, you leave the shooter to the goalie and take away the rebound chance. So to me, DeMello's view of this goal is he sees the chaser, and that is why he tries to pressure the puck carrier. Otherwise, he just sits back and leaves the shooter to Connor Hellebuck and just takes the outside guy. I mean, that's also why I think that the F3 is in position. He just got beat up the ice.
I don't think that. Sorry, just the last thing I want to say on that. I don't think that the Jets defense take the passer. If you think about it, and I can think of a number of situations, Pionk almost always tries to cut off the pass and cut off the shot. That's why he lays out so many times. And I can think of another great example just recently, the Josh Morrissey play where he takes the shooter so that he's not shooting on the goaltender against St. Louis, and I think it's Jordan Kyrou who tries to lob a pass across, and he reaches out and hits the puck out of the air, straight up into the air, and the goaltender catches. I think that the Jets defense aren't instructed to simply allow them to shoot and go take the passer. I think the Jets defense are asked to do both. So I don't think that's an example of him thinking that that the trailer is going to be caught. I think that that's how they're told to play those plays.
Okay. I mean, during the interview, he seemed to suggest that he thought that their team was in position on the play. So, I mean, that was maybe I interpreted incorrectly. So, I mean,
sure. I don't think they were.
Anyways,
I think the
Jets did a lot of good in the game. Let's talk about Brenden.
We'll get into that, and we've had that conversation. Let's launch into it. Wanted to get into the Johnston Group got you covered play of the game.
Sorry, I sent you something on this, but hang on a sec. Let's do a little filler and I'll figure it out. I'd sent you one here. I like the
dead air.
Yeah, exactly.
That's if anyone watches Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that's a great Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference. Huge show of mine. Let's before we do this, I'm just going to do a read on them. Do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses. Countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. Ken, you got that for us?
Yeah, sorry, early brain cramp here at 6:42 p.m.
It's all right.
Josh Morrissey we're talking about breaking up plays that didn't get broken up. Well, the one that did get broken up, Josh Morrissey breaking up a odd man rush as well, getting the play, breaking it up, getting up ice, and joining the rush, getting the puck over to Mason Appleton. Appleton finds Nino Niederreiter for his first of 3 goals. And to me, that was my we've got you covered play of the game, executed by Josh Morrissey, first in breaking up the play, then in getting up on the rush and making sure that the Jets are able to convert there, because that goal doesn't happen without a smart defensive effort by Josh Morrissey. But he doesn't just stand there. After he makes the play, he gets on his horse, gets up the ice, and makes a really smart play there.
I'll just touch in on it. Josh Morrissey, another great game. If you think about that three-way passing play, he's the one who starts it, kind of forces everyone to commit to the middle by going straight down the middle over to Mason Appleton, pass over to Nino Niederreiter in the back of the net. Those are kind of the subtle plays that I've talked about in the past when you get really good defensemen who know how to open up offense from the point. It's Josh Morrissey jumping up into the play and forcing the commitment to the middle the way that he does, the lane that he takes, and then just throwing it from wing to wing really puts it in a situation where Karel Vejmelka, who has goalied the Jets in the past, didn't really have the opportunity to do it on this night. So Josh Morrissey doing absolutely great. Ken, I want you to give Sweet Lou a shout out before we move on. Let's get into your theory after this, but give Sweet Lou a shout out first, because this is where, the swearing and the crying is going to start after this. So we don't want to bring Sweet
We should
Lou
get to Lamplighter also first before we do that. For all the folks who have realty needs, whether you're buying, whether you're selling, whether you're curious about what the house in the corner might be going for right now, you should be contacting Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast, and for that we are eternally grateful.
No doubt. A couple things here. Let's make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show
Get
because
the
there's going
mullet
to
out,
be
too.
some
Somebody else
theatrics
asked
happening.
for
Oh, there
mullet
we
and
go.
headband.
Might as well. I'll throw the mullet headband on. There we go.
There
Let's
you
make
go.
it a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. How did I almost forget that, Ken? Holy smokes. It's right there. Talk about low-hanging fruit. This was low-hanging fruit for the show, as is this for...
Well, now we're even now. I forgot the
it's
Morrissey play. You forgot the mullet. Now we're even, I guess. So
there we go.
Sorry,
Okay.
I know it's going to get heated. Let's do the 2 giveaways first, and then we'll...
No, they can wait. Everyone can wait. They know what's coming up there. They can wait. Let's do that. I just wanted to bring this up because Doug Henderson says the Legion of Doom line celebrating that third line. Corey Kolchicki here says, nice to see Nino has unlocked Appleton's potential. In case anyone didn't know, after that game, both Mason Appleton and Nino Niederreiter are now sitting for a tie in the Jets' lead in scoring. David Martino says, Nino is definitely hot on that line. I hope Sheffy is talking to his agent. Now, Ken, I'm just going to give you the floor. What do you think the Winnipeg Jets should be doing with Nino Niederreiter and this line going forward?
Yeah, same thing I said at the end of last game. So the players that Nino Niederreiter is tied with are Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Mark Scheifele, even though he has 9 points, has now gone 6 games without a goal. And even though Kyle Connor scored a beauty the other day, I believe that those guys need a little bit of help, more help on that line right now. And I think that Alex Iafallo is working his tail off. And he's used to playing with skilled players in the past, like Andrzej Kopitar. But right now, I don't see a lot of chemistry with the Jets' first line. They were on for 2 goals against today. Not particularly dangerous. In fact, I don't recall a single scoring. Mark Scheifele had 1 good shot off Amelka's mask. But for the most part, I don't think that they generated very much. What I would like to see when Nino Niederreiter, first and foremost, I think the Jets should be extending Nino Niederreiter and keeping him in the fold beyond this year. But right now, I think the Jets should promote Nino Niederreiter to the line with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor because they need a boost. They need the human jumper cables. And what I will add to that is that I understand where you're coming from. Don't break up the line that's been the best for the Jets. What I would say is that although Nino Niederreiter has been a very important driver in the engine of that line, I think that line has shown previously, including this year before Niederreiter was put on it, that they can be successful with Alex Iafallo, with Morgan Barron. And I'm not saying Nino Niederreiter is not impacting that line. He is. He's a humongous impact on that line. And the thing with him, Sean, when Nino Niederreiter wasn't scoring, he was still providing a physical presence and getting to the blue paint and all of those things. The reason I think he needs to go with Mark and Kyle is because although right now that Lowry line is definitely driving the offense, they were on for 4 goals today, I believe. Sorry, one of them was power play. The second power play got one of them. That line was on for 4 of the 5 goals. 3 of the 5 goals. Brenden Dillon's, the goal in tight was a nice feed from Vladislav Nemestikov, so they were on for that line. The second line was on. First line was on for no goals for, 2 lines against. And I just think that in order for the Jets, right now that line is doing a great job of helping to carry the offense. They did it on the last road trip that we were on. They had 5 goals in those 2 games. They were on for 3 today, involved in 4 when you count Niederreiter's power play marker. I just don't feel like the Jets can be a sustained high-end playoff team if they don't get Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor not just contributing, but being dangerous offensively, and right now they're not doing that as often. Nino Niederreiter is a streaky goal scorer. He gets to the blue paint. Right now, that line's not doing a great job of creating off the rush or around the blue paint. And I think that there's not a huge drop-off if Alex Iafallo and Nino Niederreiter trade places, because Iafallo is a hard-working guy that has an offensive upside. but his game, I think, is more suited to playing with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton than it is playing with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. So I know you don't agree, and we didn't agree when the Jets did it the last time, and I'm totally fine. I understand that you don't agree with me, but then what would you do with the top line? Because we clearly agree that something needs to happen there, and maybe it's Cole Perfetti moving up with that line, but that first line needs a change.
Well, I would tell you this. I would go in the direction SK is saying
Stuart,
here before I would do what you're talking about, where he says break
No
up
problem.
KFC in 55 already, long overdue. I mean, this is two of the greatest players in the NHL. Like if you're talking about I think like a top 50 kind of perspective, again, a player in Mark Scheifele who had 40 goals last year. Kyle Connor, I think, was named one of the top 30 players in the NHL this year. Listen, these are the kind of players who should be able to drive a line just alone, never mind with two of them. I don't think they should be being spoon-fed another winger and another winger and another winger to try and figure this out. I mean, they've gone through two right now in Mason Appleton. Then they go through Alex Iafallo. At some point, it's up to them to kind of make this work. And I take a look at this situation. I think there's one play that stands out to me. I saw it very different than the TSN broadcast did. They were kind of celebrating Kyle Connor, got the puck and was driving towards the net. He was within 2 feet of the net, and then he button hooked, went back into the corner and kind of skated back and forth in the corner, eluding players, and then tried to throw it into the slot. There was nothing in the slot, and it was gone. Like, I'm thinking to myself, jam that puck. Right? He's 2 feet from the net. Jam the puck, take it to the front of the net. Maybe he scores, maybe he doesn't. But if he doesn't, he gets it to the front of the net, and there's a player in the slot who can collapse, get in there, and try and bang that puck in. These are the options I would be exploring with that line, taking a different tact of play before I would ever think of splitting up a line that was working. Ken, to me, and it's interesting, it shows just how badly you've infected so much of this audience that there's a good chunk of people who are actually supporting you on this take. I thought that there would literally be tomatoes hitting your window outside your house right now after pitching this. The only thing that I could think a worse idea for you to pitch is for the Jets to trade for Blake Wheeler right now because he's not going, bring him in here, and then break up everything that's working with the Winnipeg Jets to try and get Blake Wheeler going, because we've been through this argument before. The Jets did this in the past. Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler were playing together, and it was not working. This is the year they missed the playoffs, and they had a line that was just humming along, and they broke that lineup to try and get those other players going. Never mind breaking that lineup, they were winning. I know what you're saying, Ken, and eventually you need to get that line going if you're going to be competing down the stretch, but it's game 11 right now, and the Winnipeg Jets have taken points in 5 of their last 6 games. They have 10 out of a possible 14 points, so I think maybe it's 5 of their last 7, 6 of their last 7 games. They've got 10 of a possible 14 points over that stretch. This is not a team that is struggling right now in the standings. This is a team that, yes, they lost 3 straight games, but they took points in the 2 prior, and they won 3 straight before that. This is not an in case of emergency break glass situation. And to me, that is an emergency measure, taking the one thing that is working as good as maybe we've ever seen it work before. This is quite possibly the best the Winnipeg Jets third line has ever looked in the entirety of the time that they've been back in Winnipeg. And the idea to me of breaking that up is ludicrous. I think those players are playing well together. I think that not only are they affecting the game on the scoreboard, but time and time again, this is the line that you send out to try and spark the team, to try and gain momentum, to try and continue and elevate momentum out there. This line is near perfect at this stage, other than a little bit of a rough game Adam Lowry had 2 games ago. This line is near flawless, and the idea of breaking that up, I think, is completely and totally ludicrous. We're taking, and we'll talk about it. The second line, to me,
No, just quickly.
starting to come on. You're going to get something out of that there. Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele should be good enough players that with the 2 of them, they should be able to take an AHLer on their line and still be able to produce. They're that good of players. There, I don't know that a guy like Sidney Crosby has had the benefit of having that good of a player on his line his entire career, unless they, at times played him alongside of Evgeny Malkin. Really, really good players. I mean, like listen, if the Edmonton Oilers right now were humming along, but Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl weren't playing very well, but a third line was driving that line or that team, something that the Oilers have been looking for forever, depth, would we be in a situation where you'd say, boy, oh boy, you know what those players need? They can't figure this out themselves. We need to break up what's working to try and spark those guys. To me, it's insanity. And worse, Ken, I think it's saying to two players who have the capability to find their way out of the woods themselves, I think it's handling them with kid gloves, and I think that could have disastrous consequences.
How was the line playing when Alex Iafallo was on it at the start
How
of
is
the year?
it playing?
It was their still their most consistent line when Iafallo was on. No, with Lowry and Appleton. Appleton's been playing well the whole time, whether it was Iafallo there or Niederreiter. So for me, Nino's playing great there. I'm not disputing that. But that line has shown that it can play well almost with whoever is on the line. So that's to take nothing away from Niederreiter, who I think is doing a great job of driving. And I agree, that line, in a perfect world, that line is the third line going into the playoffs in terms of third line, checking line. I just don't think that there's not a drop off if Iafallo and him trade places with that line, and you have the potential to improve the other line.
Let's do
so
it.
Where are you hurting yourself by doing
this.
that?
Let's do it as simple as this. Why would you not try to find a solution for the first line by breaking up one of the other lines?
Okay,
Why
sure.
would you go
I'm
directly
fine with
to
that.
the line that is working right now? Like, to me, that seems like the Jets are getting points right now, and this is the reason why. Like, these guys are leading the charge. Why would you chop off the arm of the warrior that is heading into battle and winning you battles right now? Why would you ever think of doing that? Take the other guys and cobble together something that works out of what remains. There's 9 players to choose from. Why not go that route?
Well, I'm okay with they need to switch something with that line. If you want to change Perfetti and Iafallo, right on, no problem. The reason why is because Nino Niederreiter is the purest of the goal scorers, but does all of the dirty work. And I think he plays a little bit more of Alex Iafallo plays a straight line game, but Nino Niederreiter has spent a good chunk of his career playing with skilled players. So I think that he could fit a little better right there. He's not as fast as Iafallo, I know that. And I'm totally fine if they stay together. I've had no problem with that. But I just think that Nino Niederreiter is the easiest fix for the top line guys. And I don't think that putting Alex Iafallo on the checking line puts Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton in danger of having any drop off. This is just very simple to me. Do you think that the Jets can win a playoff series if their best line is Adam Lowry's line?
It's not the playoffs right now. It's not the playoffs right now. That's 70 games away,
sure,
71 games away right now.
Right,
that's not something to be concerned with.
Adam Lowry's
it's a
line
question
was
that doesn't need to be asked.
The best line against Vegas by a considerable margin in the playoffs. The Jets lasted 5 games, and it had nothing to do with Lowry's play. He played great. But they need their guys to be going. And
I have to say, sorry to interrupt. I have to say, if you're typically listen to this on podcast, this episode on podcast, make sure you tune it in, because there are some all-timers in the comments section right now. North End Rick says, it's good to know that if my marriage ever goes south, Ken will break up his fabulous marriage to help mine.
Hey,
Ken, I've taken a beating in the chat room over the years.
It's good.
You are taking a very well-deserved beating at this time. I've
got no problem being taking a beating. And here's the other problem: the second line also needs to get going. Sean, if you can't have the top 6
address
forwards,
address those two lines.
We talked about that last game. I'm totally fine with it. You can change them all. Break up Kyle and Mark for a bit if you have to. I mean, we've seen Kyle Connor had success with Pierre-Luc Dubois. Does that mean he could have success with Vladislav Nemestikov? Maybe. You know what somebody else suggested in the chat room? Try Iafallo with Perfetti and Scheifele for a bit. I mean, I just don't. Right now, the Jets' top 6, yes, great play And even Kupari was involved in this play. Kupari to Perfetti to Nemesnikov to Brenden Dillon in front. And Sean, we talk about the Jets' structural breakdowns. What in the hell were the Coyotes doing defensively on that first Brenden Dillon goal? What were they doing? Brenden Dillon basically took a pass between his feet. There was nobody near him. No awareness whatsoever. So, anyways, if the Jets want to keep that line together, no problem. They're a great line. I'm with you. We talked about this before the season even started. If the Jets get to a situation where Nino Niederreiter can play on that line and be a play driver, that's great for the Jets. But right now, the top two lines are not producing at an efficient level enough for them to compete with teams like Vegas, Colorado, or Dallas. So that's where I'm coming from. I don't have a concern about how the line's playing. They've been absolutely fabulous, and they'll probably continue to be fabulous. But right now, their top six is not generating enough, and that is my primary area of concern when it comes to suggesting the switch that a lot of people don't agree with, and I'm okay with that. Let's talk a little bit more about Brenden Dillon.
I'm sucked into these. No, we should get out of that. I want to. You had talked about it before. Getting into the lamplighter, we will talk about Brenden Dillon. Maybe we'll talk about him right now. With
here,
the
quick one here. Kim's right. I do want Nino Niederreiter to be playing with Nikolai Ehlers and Vlad Nemesnikov.
Don't.
I would also be fine with those guys to be together because they need someone to go to the blue paint
anymore. I was getting enjoyment out of this at first. I need you to stop the self-harm at this stage.
Good.
You got to stop it. And here, I was going to say it like this. We're in a stage of the show right now with Ken's take where it is unbalanced. The show it is anything but rock solid. This show right now, the relationship, the takes here, what it's done to the chat room, it's broken. So we need to bring some stability into this. Let's do that by talking about Cambrian Credit Union. They brought stability into our lives, Ken. Both of us have our mortgages with Cambrian Credit Union. Like I said, both my daughters have unfee accounts. My father-in-law is an original member there. They do absolutely great work. You can see it here. Great sponsorships and donations in the community. We're going to be updating these boards soon, but in 2021, they committed $280,000 in donations and $116,000 in sponsorships. Very involved in the community. If you are looking for something rock solid in your life, and I think all of us should be looking for that after this last take of Ken's, head on over to Cambrian Credit Union and see them down there. Ken, let's get into it. What is your keg save of the game, my man?
Yeah, you know what? It's still, I think the most important, one of the nicest plays. I mean, we said something similar the other day. I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because Lawson Krause still scored the goal on the power play in the last 5 seconds of the penalty kill. But after that cross ice one-timer, Nate Schmidt does a great job of preventing the nearest player from having a backdoor tap-in. So some people were sending me notes saying, oh, is that Schmidt's man that scored? Well, no. He ties up the stick of a guy who would have had an easy backdoor tap-in. I think it might have been Schmaltz. I'm not 100% certain. But his ability to lift the stick was part of the... to me, was the save of the game. It's a backdoor tap. Yes, it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I just couldn't. I didn't really come up with. I mean, Connor Hellebuck was fine again today, but I don't think that he had a ton of. I don't recall a ton of highlight reel saves.
It didn't seem like a goalie affected game.
It wasn't. No, and you mentioned Vejmelka having stood on his head numerous times. He only has one win in 7 games now, but going into tonight, .950 save percentage. And like a 1.82 goals against average against the Jets. So, anyways, it's to me, I think that was a really smart play by Schmidt. Lots of people have been giving him the business this year. I mean, he made a smart play there. And Hellebuck was good enough in this game. He was the best goalie on the ice, and that's something that's important for the Jets. Whether he gives up 3 or not, he was the best goalie on the ice, and he got their team a victory. So I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Hellebuck, but the save of the game to me was made by Schmidt, even though it didn't prevent a goal. It prevented a goal initially, but
I completely and totally agree. And I would say this: you brought it up. It's the stat that I just keep coming back to over and over again this year. Connor Hellebuck was the better of the 2 goalies on this night. So to me, it's getting, it's happening time and time again so far this season that you can basically throw the stats out. The team in the games that the Jets are playing that wins the goaltending battle is the team that's usually coming out ahead on the scoreboard. And that's what we've been seeing for the vast majority of their games this year. If not, I don't know that I can think of an example of a game in which the Jets won, in which the other team had the better goaltender. And I don't know that I can think of a game that the Jets lost in which the Jets had the better goaltender. So you're bang on there, Ken. Good rebound for you on that. Way to bounce back, Kenny. He's back, everybody.
Just out here doing our best.
You can start getting behind him for the good takes again, and just stop trying to protect him. Inflate the bad ones. Don't worry.
I don't need protection. Swing away, buddy. Swing away.
Let's give a shout out to the Keg organization with 3 locations around the city that have just absolutely great nights out at the Keg. Ken and I are going to be hitting that up a couple times this year, no doubt. And many of you will be as well. Why? Because we're giving away a $50 gift certificate to the Keg on every single show. All you have to do is share your hashtag the Keg save of the game. If you do, you're automatically entered to win one of the $50 gift certificates we are giving away every show. And today, the winner from our last show, who got a hold of me via Instagram direct message, however you do it, however you want to do it, as long as you get a hold of Renny and get it in before game time, you are entered to win. And so off the Instagram DMs, no, not those kind of Instagram DMs, people, Michael Pajic, P-A-J-I-C. He's been sending me his picks there for a little while now, and it's paid off for him. Michael Pajic, you are the winner of the $50 gift certificate to the Keg. All you have to do is direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds, or you can keep doing what you're doing. Send your message to Instagram. I need your full name, which I believe is Michael Pajic, and I need you to send me an email in which I can send you that gift card. You do that before the next game, and you will have your $50 gift certificate to the Keg. Congratulations, Michael Pajic. Ken, let's move on to the lamplighter of the night.
Yeah, lamplighter for me is the Nino Niederreiter power play goal for 2 reasons. A, the power play has been letting the Jets down a lot of nights, and the second unit, I think it's their first goal of the year by the second unit. If Kelly, I was listening during the intermission, I think Kelly Moore mentioned that. It was an important goal for them. They've scored on consecutive days, and where that goal comes from, twofold. Nikolai Ehlers getting himself going. We know we've heard the debate forever about he's got to have more power play time. Well, when Ehlers makes passes like that, and players like Nino Niederreiter get to the blue paint and come through with those kind of redirections, excellent work right there on both fronts. And the puck movement was good. I liked a lot about what I saw from Nemestikov in the game, but that connection from Ehlers to Nino Niederreiter, to me, is a big one. I mean, personally, as you know, honorable mention to the big slapper by Brenden Dillon. First goal in 31 games for him. He scores twice, nearly gets himself the hat trick. But as Nino Niederreiter astutely pointed out when he was being asked about it by Mike McIntyre on the scene in Tempe, that puck was actually tipped by Adam Lowry, so it wasn't taking away a hat trick opportunity for Brenden Dillon. So he was quick to jump on it right there. So that's an honorable mention there. We'll get into Dillon and Pionk when we come out of this segment, because that's an important thing for me before we leave.
Of course.
That's my lamplighter.
Let's do it. I would go just in a different direction, not entirely different. I would go either Brenden Dillon's first goal, just to have him get off the schneid. You can see how that worked out with the second goal and the third assist, but the kind of primary idea of getting the puck to the net being another point of the game for him. It's the Nino Niederreiter tap in on the line, not because it's pretty or anything like that. It's what that goal in its entirety represents. I said this last game. The reason why I thought the Jets' power play worked in that last game was, it's not because it's a super nice play. It's a little bit of a lucky bounce, but 2 guys got to the front of the net. The Jets got a net front presence on that power play, and I saw them doing that a lot more tonight, Ken, and this is another example. The shot from the point, Adam Lowry tips the puck. He's in front of the net. He creates chaos. Because of that chaos and that tip, it gets through the goaltender. It's sitting on the line. Nino Niederreiter is sitting there to tap it in. Why? Well, how many games have we seen the Winnipeg Jets in as of late? I forget who it was. I think it was Alex Iafallo won our Got You Covered or Save of the Game 2 games ago, because the puck sneaks past Connor Hellebuck, there's a player there to pop it in the net. He isn't able to because Alex Iafallo beats him to it. Well, this is Nino Niederreiter getting there before anybody else. And he doesn't really need to get there because he's already there. The point of that game, and it's the power play goal as well, where he gets the pass from Nick Ehlers, which we should quickly talk about that as well. But Nino Niederreiter is all around the net. He's creating chaos. He's getting opportunities from it. If I will say it's as simple as this. If you want to know why that line is getting opportunities and why the first line is, and it's exactly what I said earlier, Kyle Connor has a chance to get the puck to the front of the net. He button hooks and goes back into the corner and tries to get a pass through a bunch of sticks for a slap shot out of the slot. Whereas Nino Niederreiter is just playing simplistic hockey. Get to the front of the net, jam the puck in. The hat trick helps with this one. But Nino Niederreiter is succeeding right now and putting up points because he is going to the front of the net. Adam Lowry is at the front of the net. The Jets are getting results offensively the last little while because they're going to the front of the net. If you think back to that Montreal game, Adam Lowry gets a pass, gorgeous pass by Nino Niederreiter. That's right beside the side of the net because those players are buzzing around the net. The first line needs to show me that they can do that before I think of trying to bail them out of anything at all before that. But I just go back to the idea, the lamplighter for me is the Nino Niederreiter third goal, the hat trick goal, A, because it's the hat trick, but B, because it's just a sign of he and the Winnipeg Jets going to the net more and more and more. And I think that's the reason they're successful on this night. So lamplighter to him. All you out there, you should be sharing with us your lamplighter as well, your goal of the game. Why? Well, if you do, you automatically enter yourself to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. If you can't wait for Kenny and Renny to gift you your own 8-pack of frosty, delicious lamplighter amber ale, head on down to TransCanada Brewing Company. You can join them in their tap room at 1290 Kenaston, where they have plenty of frosty, delicious lamplighter amber ale. They've got the blueberry, they've got some Arrow IPAs, they've got a whole bunch of stuff. They're going to have a bunch of Christmas stuff coming out now. Ken, we were there yesterday, had a nice dinner with our cameraman, or your former cameraman and my current cameraman, Colin Jensen. We had John Liu there from TSN and his camera guy, Freddie Misalachuk. We had Brian Munns there. It was a great time. Had some great pizzas, some great drinks while we were there. What a place to go hang out. You should do the same. That brings us to our lamplighter winner. And the lamplighter winner, I saw that she was in the chat room, and I also think that she's already locked down her tickets for December 10th, the Christmas/holiday party. That would be Tracy O'Kranick. Tracy, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name, which I believe I have, and your email address, which I believe I have, but you still have to reach out to me. You do that, and you will have your voucher for your very own frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale. Congratulations, Tracy, and just another shout out for that. People have already started buying up tickets. We are having our holiday/Christmas party on December 10th. We'd love to see all of you there. It will be a live airing of the Kenny and Renny show, a meetup. We got the whole place to ourselves, Kenny and Renny community. So don't disappoint us here. Let's make sure we all get together. It's an early start to the holidays. Let's all get together, share a couple bevies, share some pizzas. Same deal as last year. First drink is free. All the pizza that you can eat. A lot of appies there as well. We would love to see you down there. You got to go enter, get your tickets for that. We'd love to see you down there. Ken, you want to talk about Dillon's game, and you want to talk about Neil Pionk before we go.
Yeah, a couple quick things. Cole Perfetti now 6 assists in the last 6 games. I think he's starting to get his vision down and really starting to get himself involved. So there you go. There's another, maybe a better option to try up on that top unit. Brenden Dillon, I think it's important for him to get going. I mean, I think there had been some stretches where he maybe wasn't playing at his peak. A couple offensive additions for him, contributions, 2 goals, 1 assist. It's important. That's the kind of thing that the bench kind of gives a big lift from. And he's that partnership right now. I think Neil Pionk, really benefiting from playing with Brenden Dillon at this stage. And obviously, too, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my colleague Mike McIntyre, and a big thank you to Neil Pionk for being willing to share his emotional story in talking about Adam Johnson after his tragic loss here recently with the skate cut. Adam was in his wedding party. They go back to playing together in the USHL. They're very close friends, and he really opened up and admitted that he was really going through a really hard time, and he had taken it on the ice with him at times, and those stories are hard to tell, but I think when you're trying to get a picture of what the person is like, I think it's important for guys like that to be able to share their stories when they are ready to do so. And, just wanted to thank Neil and the Jets for making him available, and Neil for being willing to share. For those who didn't know it, I mean, the Jets Minnesota guys are going to be flying to Minnesota for the funeral and for the memorial and celebration of life. Neil Pionk will be speaking at that event. So nice to see that. I mean, they'll rejoin the Jets in St. Louis. So a lot of guys playing with heavy hearts. Neil Pionk among them. And we had talked about Pionk a lot at various times this year, Sean. Neil Pionk, honestly, one of the best games of his season for me. 2 hits, 3 shots, got himself. I thought he had 2 assists. They must have taken one away or whatever, I guess it looks like. But, good on him for sharing his story. Obviously, thoughts are with Pionk and his family and all the Johnson family and friends as they continue to deal with this incredible tragedy here. But anyways, just wanted to share that part of the equation as well, because we know hockey community is a small world. A lot of people have connections to one another, but I think the Jets fan base maybe wasn't quite as aware of how close this hit home for a lot of people there, and they wouldn't have known unless that player Neil Pionk was willing to share that part of the story. So thank you to him.
And you wanted to say something just about Brenden Dillon?
I was kind of talking about Dillon and his offense.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were
it's okay.
focusing more on the other. I'll just throw it in there. He's had a little bit of a tough go down the stretch at the beginning of this season. I've had a lot of people pointed out to me he's had some rough nights. I thought tonight was a great night for Brenden Dillon, and maybe one of those things to kind of help a guy snap out of it. If you take a look at some of the issues that the Jets have had so far this season, a lot of people talked about Nino Niederreiter at the beginning of the year and him not having being able to kind of put that puck in the net. That's clearly behind him. It's good to see that going. Everyone's going to have their ups and downs throughout the season. Maybe, just maybe, this is the turning point for Brenden Dillon to kind of shake off the issues that he was having at the beginning of the year. I don't go crazy over this game. Again, it's the Arizona Coyotes, like you'd said, that coaching staff. There's a lot of moments in that game that there's like, what the heck is going on moments. They're a young team. Clearly, this is an example of a team that the Winnipeg Jets are, far more veteran savvy presence to them. I think that played out in the game as the game went on tonight. The Jets figured it out, and once they did, they took that game over, and I didn't really think the Arizona Coyotes had a response to that, but part of that has to do with the veteran savvy of a player like Brenden Dillon, who I think kind of got back on the horse here tonight, and maybe that will mean very good things for the Jets going forward. That's it for us here. We're going to shut it down to enjoy for all of you the rest of what's happening on a Saturday night. Here, before we do go, I had some people asking about it. If you want to get tickets to our event, I'm throwing it, and I'll bring it up here again. It's in the chat room. I threw it in there once already. Let's throw it up again here, but go over to the Eventbrite site where you can purchase your tickets, and we can navigate on the other side of it. How many tickets are being sold and how much space there is, all those different kind of things. But I know a lot of people, and I directed a lot of people there already, have been direct messaging me to try to find out where they go to get tickets. I know some people get a little bit iffy when it comes to new technology, whatever. We did it different last year. We're trying to change it on the fly. But if you want to go and make sure you're there, I saw Jordy Angus was talking about going and trying to get T. Konopoli to go. T. Konopoli, you should come because you were there last year. And I know you were rumbling and rocking at the Kenny and Renny year-ender. We'd love to do it all again at Christmas here. But direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds if you need help, or Ken, if you need help making sure that you get those tickets. And let's do it. We want to pack that room once again, because every Kenny and Renny event so far has been absolutely packed and an absolute killer, and we want to keep that rolling and show everybody in this city, A, that Kenny and Renny parties are the best parties in town, and B, the Kenny and Renny community is the best community in town. Hopefully that we can continue doing that, everybody. Before we go, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, and say if you appreciate the conversations happening in this space, please appreciate our sponsors who fight to keep keep the conversation going in this space for us. That's Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing, the Johnston Group, Cambrian Credit Union, Sweet Lou Furlan, the Keg, and Trans-Canada Brewing Company. The rest of you are on fire tonight. Like I said, I'm giving a pitch to all the folks out there who are watching or listening via podcast. Check it out. There was a lot of fun happening in the chat room here tonight. That was good stuff. And Scotty Billick had an idea. Speaking of Ken, we haven't had Scott on the show yet this year. We need to get him on. Let's make sure that we do that sooner rather than later. We know it helps drive our metrics, people, when you give likes. It also helps drive our metrics if when you go watch this on our YouTube page, you leave a comment below. The more comments, the more we pop up in searches and different things like that, and the more new audience can help us, and we can keep adding to the Kenny and Renny community. So in order to try and get that done, we know all of you in the chat room have been leaving your hashtag Lamplighters, your hashtag the Keg Saves of the Game. If you do it again in the comments later on, if you go there and do that, we will give you a second entry for those prizes. So you can double up on your entries if you go do that, and it really helps us out. And if you haven't subscribed when you go there, make sure you do that as well. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. We will see you again Tuesday, is it, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Next game, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, Saturday, against the St. Louis Blues, a team that's been popping up a little bit. They are nipping at the Jets' heels, so it should be a good one. Looking forward to seeing everybody then. Talk to you later, everybody.